All right, so today we are going to be discussing calories and macros, okay? Now, I know a lot of you hear a bunch of this stuff about calories and counting macros and if it fits in your macros and all this kind of stuff, right? But how many of you really know what that means? Today's video, the purpose is to simplify everything for you, okay? Hopefully break through all that noise so that you can be more confident in your choices and hopefully help you either lose or gain weight depending on what your goals are, right? I want to be clear, this is a video for beginners, okay? I'm going to be talking pretty slow. I want to really get down to the simple points of everything. But if you are someone who's been lifting for a while, we all know we let nutrition go to the wayside. So if you want to stay on and learn a little bit, that'll be cool too, okay? So let's start with calories, okay? So calories are a unit of measurement of heat, okay? So the definition of it is it's the amount of energy required to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius, okay? So it's a unit of heat. But a long time ago, scientists have decided that we can also use that to determine how much energy that our body expends while we use calories. Now, in the overall picture of everything, calories are quite simply the most important thing when you're losing or gaining weight, okay? Because if you're gaining weight, that means you're taking in more fuel than your body is burning. And if you're losing weight, that means that your body is burning more than it's taking in, right? So pretty easy, right? I think a lot of us get wrapped up in what can we, what should we, and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff is important too. But it all comes down to calories in and calories out, okay? We use a term called CICO, which is basically just those letters, right? Calories in, calories out. Protein, right? Protein is, in the bodybuilding world, the most important thing, okay? This is the king of everything, right? And when you're trying to lose weight, it's the most important thing as well, okay? When you eat a lot of protein, right? Protein has 4 calories per gram of protein, okay? So every gram of protein you eat has 4 calories. But what happens is when you're eating protein, you're literally burning calories while you're eating protein, okay? Because it has a thermal effect. Glucose and fat fat has a little bit, carbs basically none. But with protein, you're burning calories as you eat. So obviously the more protein you eat, the more calories you're burning, right? So how cool is that? We can lose weight while we're eating. But it also has other benefits, right? It's benefits for recovery, for muscle growth, for longevity, right? As we get older, we need more protein in our diets. We'll cover that in some other videos, but always remember that more protein is better. There's never been a case of someone who died of too much protein, okay? Now, sometimes you might get a little bloated or have little problems with digestion, and that might be that you have too much protein in your body for you to handle, but that's nothing that is seriously harmful for you, okay? And protein is king. I generally shoot for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I'm 200 pounds, so I try to get about 200 grams of protein. And it seems like a lot, but once you take into account like all the protein supplements and stuff that you can take, it's pretty easy to get. Carbs. This is everybody's favorite, right? So carbs is what we use for energy, right? And energy for working out, for movement, for talking, for walking, for all that kind of stuff, right? These are our energy fuel, right? So we use it for recovery and for brain function, right? Now, glycogen, unlike protein, will store in your body. And glycogen is what we get from carbs. Glycogen is a fancy word for sugar, right? So our muscles and our blood and everything will take this sugar in, and it could be good for us, right? It could be, the fuel we need to work out or to run or whatever, but it also could be bad if we're taking too much in, which is raising insulin and such, and that's where problems like diabetes and such comes in. But right now, just to be simple, is carbs are what we use for energy, okay? Proteins for recovery and muscle building. Carb is for energy. All right. Fat, okay? The terrible word fat. Fat is not bad, okay? We need fat in our body, right? We need fat. We need it for brain function, for cellular function in the rest of our body, right? We need it for mood. We also can use it for energy as well. Generally speaking, carbs is energy for really high intensity workouts, whereas fat is more for low intensity, right? So that's why keto works for a lot of people, because a lot of people who are on keto aren't working out as much, and so they're burning calories through fat and they're using the energy through fat, right? So that's why they don't need as many carbs as the rest of us. It is great for hormones, right? So women especially, and men, we all have hormones, and if we don't use the right amount of fat, then we could get sick or we could have imbalances, and nobody wants that, okay? Fat is good, okay? You need to have at least 60 grams of fat in your body, right? Sometimes you'll go lower for like bodybuilding shows, but that's for a very small amount of time, and then you go back to normal, okay? We're talking about what we want to do in everyday life. Alcohol, right? So alcohol is a macro, right? It's considered the fourth macro. It has 7 calories per gram of alcohol. Now, that's not per shot. So every time you take a shot, that's about 100 to 120 calories just in that one shot, okay? And some of us have like triples or doubles or whatever the case may be, right? So just remember, those are all calories and they all count. They don't provide any satiation. They don't provide any recovery. They actually inhibit recovery because it hurts your sleep. It also really hurts weight loss, because what alcohol does is your body naturally processes alcohol before it processes anything else, okay? So if it has any alcohol in your body, the food that you're eating with that alcohol will be put to the wayside until the alcohol is broken down, right? Which means that most of that will turn into fats, okay? Which is not good for body fat, not even just good fat, it's body fat, visceral fat, which is a fat around your organs. It also inhibits sleep. And sleep is the most important thing when it comes to recovery and weight loss, okay? You need to sleep. You need to get that 7 to 9 hours. And if you're drinking, you might think that you're sleeping, but really you're just like resting your eyes, okay? You're not getting that deep sleep and that REM that we need, right? Okay, so now we talked about the 3 or 4 macros, right? Now, I mentioned a little bit about how many calories are per gram, but just to reiterate, right? Protein and carbs both have 4 calories per gram, okay? 4 calories per gram. Fat is more dense, and it has 9 calories per gram. So every time you have a gram of fat, it's 9 calories, okay? So it adds up quick. And again, alcohol has 7. So when we're figuring out our overall maintenance calories, right, there's a couple ways we can do this. You can go online to find any kind of macro calculator. It'll ask you like your body weight and how much you move, how old you are and stuff, and it'll tell you how many calories you need to have, how many different macros, right? But they're pretty arbitrary, right? Not a lot of them are very accurate. But what you can also do is take your weights and multiply it by 14, okay? Your weight by 14. That will give you a nice number for calories that you can kind of start your maintenance phase on, right? So when we're in maintenance, that means we don't want to lose, we don't want to gain. We just want to see how many calories we can eat to keep the same weight we're at, right? So 14 times your body weight will give you a nice even number. Now, what I'll do then is, like I said, I will take your body weight and make that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, right? So like I said, I'm 200, so I'll get 200 grams of protein, right? Then next, you'll take your fats, right? And like I said, you need at least 60 grams of fat in your diet. There's also a way that you can multiply your body weight by 0.3 or 0.4, and that will give you another number for amount of fat, right? So you can do that as well, so you'll see how much fat you can have. And remember, that is just the the grams of fat, right? You need to multiply that by the calories too. So remember, if it's 60, you have to take that 60 and multiply it by 9, and that's how many calories you have, right? Same with the 200 protein. You'll take the 200 times 4, and that'll be your calories, right? So then you have your total protein calories and your total fat calories, and you add those together. That will give you a second number, okay, a third number. Then we find out our carbs. So you'll take that number, you'll take your total calories, subtract that number, and that will be your carbs. But you will have to divide that carbs by 4, because that's how many calories are per gram of carb. So then that'll figure out how many grams of carbs you have, and that'll fill in the rest of the holes, right? So then you have your protein, which is per pound of body weight. You have your fat, which is 0.3 to 0.4 of your body weight, and then your carbs, which is the rest of the calories, okay? That will give you your total calories, and in theory, that would be the amount of calories that will get you through your day, okay? With your movement, with everything you're doing and all that kind of stuff, right? What I would suggest you do is, number 1, get a macro counter, okay? So you can get like MyFitnessPal or Macros First or Chronometer. There's a million different ones, okay? Depending on which ones you like and which one's easy for you to use. But what happens is you'll put your numbers in there, whatever calories and macros you figured out on your own, and then you can insert your foods. And as you go through the day, you'll insert your food, it'll track your calories, it'll track your macros, and then you'll see as the day goes how many you need left, how many you have left, and how many you've already eaten. We don't want to undereat, because if you undereat, you will binge eventually. Maybe not tomorrow or the next day, but you will go crazy. And your body also needs those calories to function properly, or you're going to feel tired all the time, probably pretty moody or crabby. So you want to be happy and functional unless you're trying to gain weight or lose weight. But right now, we're just trying to stay the same weight. It's not about being perfect, everyone. It's about being consistent. Consistent over everything, okay? If you can try to stay within 100 or 200 calories every day, we're gonna see how things really work, okay? I try to keep my macros within 10. So if I say 200 grams of protein, I'll try to eat between 210 and 190, okay? It's not about being perfect, but it is about being consistent, okay? That's the only way you can get true data as your trainers and coaches to help you get better and achieve your goals. Low carb's not always better, okay? Different people work with different things. Like I said earlier, some people work better with keto because they don't move that much, okay? But if you are moving, you need the more carbs, okay? A lot of people always say no carbs because they lose weight, and then either they binge, like I said, or the minute they start eating normal again, which is introducing carbs, they blow up because carbs holds water and sugar, and your body's not used to it, so it'll react negatively. So we want to make sure we pay attention to that. I don't want you to track just your calories, okay? Calories are king, right? That's the most important. But if you're eating just junk and still hitting the calories, you're not going to be looking the way you want to look, okay? You'll probably see those people who are like skinny fat and they don't have any density. We want to be healthy and we want to live forever, okay? So that's why we want to keep track of not only our calories, but also all of our macros, okay? So there's a lot of information in there, but hopefully I helped it be a little more simple for you and a little more understandable, okay? My name is Brian. I'm a coach. I've done CrossFit for a long time. I do powerlifting. I do bodybuilding. I'm available for nutrition coaching or workouts or whatever you need, okay? So make sure you can DM me for help, or you can subscribe and like and comment, all that good stuff, okay? I'm a very small influencer right now, and I'm trying to gain followers, so every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. But hopefully that's it. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, all right? Let's stay healthy.